7 harsh truths about decluttering for seniors that no one talks about but you need to know. Decluttering in your later years isn't just about tidying up or making space. It's a deeply personal, often painful, and sometimes overwhelming process that forces you to confront the reality of time, identity, and the weight of your past. People will tell you to just get rid of what you don't need, as if it were that simple. But decluttering when you're older is not merely a practical task. It's an emotional reckoning. It means facing the objects that tell the story of your life, the relationships you've built, and the roles you once played. No one prepares you for how difficult it can be, but you deserve to know the truth. Here are the 7 harsh realities about decluttering in your senior years that no one discusses, but you need to understand. 1. Decluttering forces you to acknowledge that some chapters of your life are over. There is an undeniable weight to the objects we accumulate over the years. They are more than just things. They are silent witnesses to the lives we have lived. The books that once sat by your bedside, read in the quiet hours of the night, still carry the thoughts you pondered long ago. The suit that once made you feel confident and strong now hangs in the back of the closet, a reminder of boardroom meetings, special occasions, or a time when the world viewed you differently. The wedding china, so carefully stored for decades, speaks to a time when the house was full, laughter echoed through the dining room, and every holiday carried with it a sense of permanence. Letting go of these items is not just about making space, it's about accepting that certain moments, identities, and seasons of life have passed, and that is not easy. There is a deep, quiet grief that accompanies acknowledging you will never again need those work clothes because you no longer play that role, or that the travel souvenirs from decades past belong to a version of yourself with more time and adventure ahead. The holiday decorations from years gone by may remain unpacked because traditions have changed, the family has scattered, or the energy to host has waned. What makes decluttering so difficult is that it is not just a physical process, it is an emotional reckoning. Every time you pick up an object, you're forced to ask yourself difficult questions. Am I still this person? Do I still need this? Am I ready to let it go? Sometimes the hardest realization is that holding on to something will not bring back the past. The dress will never be worn again at a party where everyone you love is present. The tools will not be used to build another treehouse for children who have long since grown up. The handwritten letters from old friends and loved ones remind you that time moves forward whether you are ready for it or not. Yet there is something liberating in this acceptance. Letting go of things does not mean letting go of who you were, it means making peace with the fact that life evolves. It means allowing yourself to step into a new chapter with less weight on your shoulders. You are not erasing the past by decluttering, you are simply choosing to honor it in a different way. The moments, the love, and the experiences are all still a part of you, even without the objects that once defined them. While it is painful to close certain chapters, there is comfort in knowing that new ones still await. Letting go is not just about saying goodbye. It is about making room for what comes next. 2. The things you saved for your children and grandchildren might not be wanted. For years, you held on to certain things with a quiet sense of duty. The dining set where your family once gathered, the delicate china passed down for generations, and the antique clock that once chimed through your childhood home. These are not merely objects to you. They are legacy pieces of a history you thought would live on through your children and grandchildren. Each item was kept with the belief that one day, someone would cherish it as much as you did. But when the time comes to pass these things down, you may be met with hesitation, indifference, or even rejection. Your children, whom you once imagined building homes filled with these heirlooms, may live in small apartments, preferring minimalist spaces over rooms filled with sentimentality. Your grandchildren, who once played at your feet, now live in a world where memories are stored in digital photos rather than physical keepsakes. They may not see the same beauty in these objects that you do, and that realization stings. It is not just about the things themselves. It is about what they represent, your past, your values, your love. When someone says, "I don't have room for that," or "I just don't need it," it can feel as if they are saying, "I don't need this piece of you." And that can feel like a quiet kind of loss, one that is hard to articulate. You may wonder if it means that the stories, traditions, and memories tied to these things no longer matter. But the truth is, their love for you is not measured by their willingness to keep your things. It is measured in the time they spend with you, in the lessons they have learned from you, and in the way your influence is woven into their lives. A chair, a clock, and a set of dishes are just things. What truly endures is the connection you've built, the wisdom you've shared, and the moments you've given them. Instead of feeling hurt, have the conversation now. Ask them what they truly treasure. You may find that it is not the furniture or the heirlooms but a simple handwritten recipe, a photo album with stories written in the margins, or a letter from you that captures your thoughts and love. These are the things that will stay with them long after any material object has been forgotten. For the things they do not want, let them go with grace. Someone else in the world may need them, may cherish them in a way your family does not. Donate them, sell them, or repurpose them. Let them find a second life with someone who will truly appreciate them. Holding on to them out of a sense of obligation only fills your space with unnecessary weight. Free yourself from the burden of possessions and focus instead on what truly matters, the love you leave behind, not the things. 3. Clutter can steal your independence without you even realizing it. At first, surrounding yourself with familiar objects seems comforting. The things you've gathered over a lifetime bring a sense of security. Your home is filled with memories. The books you once cherished, the carefully chosen furniture, the kitchen overflowing with dishes that once served family meals. You tell yourself these things make a house feel like a home and are part of your identity, part of your story. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, the weight of it all begins to shift. One day, you may notice that simple tasks take longer. The piles of old papers on the table make it difficult to find what you need. The overstuffed closet makes dressing each morning a challenge. The boxes stored in the corners, once ignored, now require careful maneuvering to avoid tripping. A home that once felt comforting now feels overwhelming. One day, you might catch yourself hesitating before reaching for something on a high shelf or thinking twice about bending down to retrieve an item from the back of a cabinet. Without realizing it, your belongings, these things you once cherished, have begun to restrict you rather than support you. No one talks about how clutter can quietly erode your independence. At first, it's just an inconvenience, having to move things around to make space, taking extra time to clean, feeling slightly frustrated when searching for misplaced items. But as the years pass, clutter becomes more than just an annoyance, it becomes a barrier. The once beloved furniture that made your home feel warm now crowds your movement. The rugs, the piles of books, the stacks of old newspapers, these things, which you once kept without thinking, now pose a real risk. A stumble, a fall, a misplaced step could change everything. Yet, it's not just a physical burden. The clutter weighs on your mind too. Every object represents a decision yet to be made. Should I keep this? Should I let it go? What if I need it later? These thoughts pile up in your subconscious, creating stress and fatigue, even when you are not consciously thinking about them. They exist as background noise, adding to the sense of being overwhelmed. Letting go of clutter is not about losing things. It's about regaining control. It's about making your home safer, easier to navigate, and easier to maintain. It's about freeing yourself from unnecessary stress, from objects that no longer serve you, and from the fear that your own home might become an obstacle. It's about ensuring that you can continue to live independently, with ease, with comfort, and with dignity. A home filled with too much clutter does not support you, it holds you back. By choosing to simplify, by letting go of what no longer serves you, you are not just making space in your home, you are making space in your life for ease, clarity, and the freedom to move and live on your own terms. For, you'll feel guilt, a lot of it. No one warns you about the guilt. You think decluttering is just about sorting through old things, deciding what stays and what goes. But then you pick up an item, a gift from a friend who is no longer here, a piece of clothing you never wore but once swore you would, an expensive item you purchased and regretted, and suddenly it's not just an object in your hands, it's a weight pressing on your chest. Guilt comes in many forms. There is the guilt of letting go of something that once belonged to a loved one, as if by discarding the object, you are erasing the person who gave it to you. A scarf that belonged to your mother, a set of letters from an old friend, a handmade trinket from a child long grown. These things are infused with memory, and parting with them can feel like a betrayal. It's as if the love, the history, and the connection will disappear the moment the object is gone. Then there is the guilt of waste. You see an expensive coat you never wore, and you feel a pang of regret. You look at boxes of items you once thought you needed but never used, wondering how much money you spent over the years on things that now feel unnecessary. There is a voice in the back of your mind whispering, "I should have used this more, I should have appreciated this more, I should have made better choices." And there is the guilt of uncertainty, the fear that you will make the wrong decision. You hold an item in your hands and hesitate. What if I need this later? What if I give this away and regret it? What if I am making a mistake? That fear of regret can be paralyzing, making it easier to simply hold on to everything rather than risk letting go of something you might one day miss. But the truth is, guilt is not a reason to keep things. An object does not keep a person's memory alive, you do. Keeping something you don't use or love does not add value to it, nor does it redeem the money spent. Holding on to things out of fear only keeps you stuck, weighed down by possessions that serve no real purpose except to remind you of a decision you are afraid to make. Instead of letting guilt control you, shift your perspective. If something was a gift, remind yourself that its purpose was to bring joy at the time it was given. If it no longer does, you can let it go without guilt. If an item isn't used but valuable, consider donating it to someone who will truly need and appreciate it. If you are afraid of regret, remind yourself that most things, especially those long forgotten in closets and attics, rarely come back into daily use. Letting go is not an act of forgetting, it is an act of honoring what truly matters, not the object itself, but the love, the experience, and the memory it represents. Those are things you will never lose. 5. Decluttering is exhausting, physically, mentally, and emotionally. While decluttering sounds simple in theory, going through your things, deciding what stays and what goes, and making space for a more organized life, the reality is far more complicated. No one prepares you for the sheer exhaustion that comes with it, not just the physical effort of sorting, lifting, and moving things, but the mental and emotional toll of making countless decisions, confronting memories, and facing the weight of your own history. At first, you might feel motivated, ready to tackle the clutter that has accumulated over the years. But as you begin, you realize it is not just about tidying up, it is about making choices that feel heavier than they should. Every item you touch demands an answer. Do I keep this? Do I donate it? Will I regret letting it go? The constant need to decide is mentally draining, and over time, it wears you down. What starts as an afternoon project can turn into weeks or months of hesitation, second-guessing, and emotional fatigue. And then there are the memories. Decluttering is not just about objects, it is about confronting your past. The old letters, the photographs, the souvenirs from places you once visited, all of them bring back moments you had not thought about in years. Some bring joy, others sadness, and some remind you of what has been lost. It is impossible to go through a lifetime of belongings without feeling the weight of time passing. You may find yourself pausing, holding an item in your hands, lost in a memory, reluctant to move forward. It is not just things you are letting go of, it is pieces of your story. Physically, decluttering is demanding in ways that may not have been a challenge when you were younger. Bending to go through boxes, reaching for items stored high on shelves, and carrying heavy objects, all require effort. What once felt easy now feels overwhelming. Even if you take breaks, the process is slow, and the fatigue builds. You may find yourself looking at piles of belongings, knowing you need to continue but feeling unable to push through the exhaustion. This is why so many people start decluttering with good intentions but never finish. The process is too overwhelming, the decisions are too difficult, and the memories are too powerful. They stop, leaving things as they are, promising to return later, yet later rarely comes. The clutter remains, and with it, the burden it carries. The truth is, decluttering is not something that happens in one day. It is a process that requires patience and kindness toward yourself. It is okay to take it slow. Start with one small area, one drawer, or one shelf. Rest when you need to. Ask for help when it becomes too much. Accept that it will be tiring, but remind yourself of what you are working toward: a home that feels lighter, a space that brings you peace, a life that is not overshadowed by things that no longer serve you. The exhaustion is real, but so is the relief that comes when it is finally done. 6. Keeping everything won't keep the past alive. It just holds you back. It is a comforting thought. Holding on to certain objects can preserve the past. If you keep the letters, the souvenirs, the clothes, and the furniture, then the people, the moments, and the feelings will somehow remain with you. You tell yourself these things are proof that your history mattered, that the life you built is still tangible, still present. But over time, that comfort becomes something else, something heavier, something that begins to take up not just space in your home but space in your mind and heart. At first, you hardly notice it. A closet full of clothes that no longer fit, a cabinet stuffed with dishes from family dinners that no longer happen, a garage filled with items from a life that has changed. These objects sit there untouched, collecting dust. But you hold on to them because letting go feels like an admission that certain times are over, certain people are gone, and certain dreams were never realized. It feels as though, by discarding the items, you are discarding the life you once had. Yet the truth is that keeping everything does not bring the past back. It only makes it harder to live in the present. You are not preserving memories. You are surrounding yourself with reminders of what was, making it more difficult to embrace what is and what could be. Instead of feeling warmth when you see these things, you feel the weight of nostalgia, longing, and what-ifs. Slowly your home, which should be a place of peace and comfort, becomes a museum of a life that no longer exists. Letting go does not mean forgetting. It does not mean that the moments you cherish did not happen, or that the people you loved are any less important. It simply means you are choosing to keep the past in your heart rather than in boxes and on shelves. Memories are not stored in objects, they live in you, in the wisdom you have gained, in the love you continue to give, and in the lessons you pass down to those who follow. When you let go of clutter, you are not letting go of your past, you are making space for your future. You are allowing yourself to move freely, to breathe deeply, and to exist without the constant weight of things that no longer serve a purpose. Beyond holding you back, it is not about loss, it is about freedom. The past does not need to be held on to so tightly. It will always be with you, not in things, but in who you are and in the life you continue to build. 7. There's no perfect time to declutter, so start now. It is easy to say, "I'll do it later." Decluttering is never urgent, never pressing, until it is. There is always a reason to put it off. Maybe you're waiting for a time when you feel more energetic, when life slows down, or when you have the mental and emotional strength to go through the things that have accumulated over the years. Perhaps you tell yourself there will be a better time, a quieter season, or a day when it won't feel as overwhelming. But the truth is that the perfect moment never comes. Time moves forward whether you are ready or not, and what feels like a small task today will only grow heavier with each passing year. What could be handled now with patience and thoughtfulness may one day become an overwhelming burden, one you no longer have the strength to carry. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes, not just physically but emotionally. The weight of indecision grows heavier, and the thought of starting becomes paralyzing. And then there is the reality no one likes to speak about, the possibility that one day you won't be the one making the decisions. If you do not take control of your belongings now, someone else will have to later, a child, a grandchild, a friend. Someone will be left to sort through the things you left behind. While you may think you are sparing yourself the emotional difficulty, what you are truly doing is passing it on to them. They will be the ones left sorting through your belongings, trying to decide what mattered, what was important, what should be kept, and what should be let go. That too is a burden, one that can be avoided if you begin the process yourself while you still have the choice. But decluttering is not just about preparing for the future, it is about making space for the present. When you free yourself from what no longer serves you, you do not just create physical space in your home, you create mental space, emotional space, and a sense of lightness that cannot be measured. You remove the weight of postponed decisions and things that no longer have a place in your daily life. You allow yourself to move more easily, to breathe more deeply, and to live without the quiet stress of too much clutter pressing in on you. There will never be a day when decluttering feels easy. It will always be emotional. It will always be tiring. It will always ask something of you. But waiting will not make it any easier. The best time to begin is now, before it becomes too much, before the choices are taken out of your hands, before the things you own begin to own you. Start small, start slow, but start. Because the sooner you begin, the sooner you will feel the relief of living with less, not less of what matters, but less of what holds you back. Decluttering isn't about loss, it's about gaining peace and freedom. Letting go feels like losing, and that is what makes decluttering so difficult. Every object you part with seems to take something with it. A piece of your past, a reminder of who you once were, a connection to someone or something that mattered. The fear of loss is what keeps so many people holding on, believing that as long as they keep the things, they keep the memories, the meaning, the significance. But the truth is, decluttering is not about loss, it is about release. It is about freeing yourself from the weight of things that no longer serve you, things that demand your space, your energy, your attention, without giving much in return. It is about lightening the invisible burden that you may not even realize you are carrying, the weight of unfinished projects, of regrets, and of objects tied to moments you have outgrown but have not yet allowed yourself to leave behind. Your home should be a place of comfort, not obligation. You should walk into a room and feel at peace, not overwhelmed by the things that fill it. But when every corner is crowded with reminders of a life already lived, it can be hard to see space for the life you still have ahead. Decluttering is not about erasing your history. It is about making space for your present and your future. It is about choosing what truly deserves a place in your home, and more importantly, in your life. The moments that shaped you are not contained in old furniture, piles of letters, or stored away keepsakes. They live in you, in the wisdom you have gained, in the love you continue to give, and in the lessons you pass down to those who follow. Letting go of an object does not erase the past. It simply allows you to carry it differently, more lightly, without the need for physical proof. And when you finally begin to release what no longer serves you, you may find something unexpected, a sense of relief, a clarity that had been buried beneath the clutter. You will realize that you are not losing anything at all. You are, in fact, gaining something far more valuable: freedom. Freedom from the past weighing too heavily on the present. Freedom to move more easily, to live with less stress, and to focus on what truly matters: your relationships, your health, and your peace of mind. Decluttering is not an act of letting go, it is an act of choosing. Choosing to live with intention. Choosing to hold on only to what enriches your life. Choosing to step forward without the weight of unnecessary possessions holding you back. In that choice, you will find that what remains is not emptiness, but a space filled with clarity, simplicity, and the kind of peace that comes only when you are no longer burdened by things you no longer need. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.